Hello, guys, and welcome to the second class, the second episode of our ongoing series, where we will try to manage to learn all the meanings of the most common characters in Japan, the characters that they use in Japanese language. Now, maybe a bit of update from the last episode. I put to the very first slide where we will always have the class number and the lesson number. I also put here the link for the video. So when the file has a lot of slides, I'm not sure if PowerPoint will allow us to have more than 2000 slides, but if so, there will always be a link for the video, so it's easier for you to orient yourself. So if you want to practice the kanjis, the characters from the lesson 1, from the episode 1, and you can also see this video to help you out with that. But today we continue with class number 2, which will be still lesson 1, but we will move to the kanjis, to the characters 6 and 10. And when I upload this file, there will also be a video link that will point you to this video. So without further ado, let's continue. So maybe unsurprisingly, next character that we will learn is this one, which has the meaning 6. Similar to the previous characters, because these characters are quite simple, we do not have any primitives that are used here to help us to remember the meaning, and also this character doesn't have any other primitive meanings. So if it's used in the other characters, it will always have the meaning of 6. So how we will remember this character? We will use the following story. We will say this kanji resembles 6 parts of the human body. The head, body would be like this, 2 arms, and 2 legs. So the only one catch is that you have to remember this is also the body. So we have head, body, 2 arms, and 2 legs. And you will have the number 6. So this should help you to remember that this character means 6. And again, this is the red, right? Everything is in the same color. So the kanji is in the red color, the meaning is in a red color, and the meaning in the story is in a red color as well. So let's move to the other kanji, index number 7. And fun enough, the kanji also means 7. So the meaning of this kanji is 7, but if it's used in other characters, it can have the primitive meaning of diced. So if we use this character in other characters, sometimes we can use the meaning of diced to help us to remember the story of that character. But because this character is also quite simple, we don't really have any other primitives used, and we just remember this one by saying that this character looks like 7 turned 180 degrees, right? Because if you think about it, you have number 7. Sometimes it's written just like this. For example, in my country, we write it like this. And if you move it 180 degrees, then you will kind of end up with something like this, which is exactly how the character for 7 looks like in Japanese. Maybe let's go back to the previous one and show you the stroke order for this character. So if you want to write the kanji for 6, you'll start with this one, stroke number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have only 4 strokes for the character, that means 6, which has 6 body parts. It might be a little bit confusing, but I'm sure you will remember this. And if you want to write kanji 7, then you start with this line, and then you do this stroke. So you only have 2 strokes, 1 and 2 for the character 7. And let's continue with the next one. And as you would probably guess, it's 8. So the character for 8, also very simple, doesn't have any primitives, any primitive meanings. It's also not used in other characters with different primitives, and also doesn't use any primitive for this character. So very simple. And how we will remember this character? Well, we can say that maybe you know that 8 in Japanese, it's pronounced hachi, hachi, and hachi begins with the sound of the katakana ha. By the way, if you don't know hiragana and katakana, which are the other two very simple alphabets that they use in Japan, this is something you should definitely learn before starting the meaning, or you can do it simultaneously with the meanings of the characters. I'll give you some resources to the link below. The best one I found is very easy to find, very easy to learn it uh, from this resource because I will show you the resemblance of the characters they used in hiragana and katakana, how they look like. For example, something look like narwhal. The katakana for na looks like narwhal. They will show you the picture of narwhal, and then you will kind of get hang of it. So yeah, this is some resource that I will provide for you. But here, as we said, number 8 is pronounced hachi, begins with the sound of the katakana ha. And as you can see, ha looks very similar to the character 8, for a Japanese character that means 8. So maybe if you don't know these things, it might get, again, a bit confusing. But just remember that the katakana for ha looks like this. It's called hachi, and hachi is 8, and it also looks like katakana for ha. So if you learn hiragana, katakana, it will get easier. If you also know how to pronounce 8, it will get even more easier. But if not, you can also just remember that that 8 is just like 2 lines, right? This, right? If you want to write it, if I can, then the stroke order would simply be just 1 line and second line. You can see this is just like a little bit fancy thing right here. This doesn't have to be written. I don't know anyone who actually does it because it would get more messier. But if you want to do calligraphy or something like this, definitely looks better. But depending on the font you use on a computer, this might look slightly different. So let's continue with the character that means 9. It's this one. But if it's used in other characters, it can also have its primitive meaning, a baseball team. So sometimes when you see this character in different character, we will use the meaning of baseball team to help us know the story. And for this character, we just simply say that it looks a little bit like the letter N, which here stands for 9, right? Again, we don't have much to work with here, so you have to be a bit creative. And if you write the letter for N, then it's actually, let me try once again. It looks a bit like this, especially if you like move it a little bit like this. Yeah, it looks very much similar to the character 9. So the stroke order would simply be just 1 and 2. So this movement is one movement. It's one stroke. It's a hook, right? So you do just 1 and 2. Sorry, I have to do something with the mouse. 1, maybe I'll use my touchpad, and 2. Yeah, so just simply 2 strokes, hopefully easy to remember, looks like letter N. And the last one we do for today, and finally we've got something happening. It's the kanji for 10, which looks like this. Looks like a cross. So unsurprisingly, when it's used in different characters, it can get a primitive meaning of cross or even a needle. So sometimes we will also call this a needle when used in different characters. And here, to remember the story, we will use this character's primitive meaning cross to remember the meaning of this character. This will also not happen in the future, but with these beginning characters, it's just something we have to do. So, as I said, this kanji can have a primitive meaning of cross, and we will use this to remember this kanji. So, we will say that imagine you are in a graveyard, and suddenly vampires appear. There is 10 of them. That's important, because if it's only 9, it would be too easy. If it's 11, you'll probably fly away. You're not crazy. You're not going to fly. You're not going to fight 11 vampires, right? But 10, you think you can do it. So there is 10 of them, but what you gonna do? You only have one single cross, but somehow you still manage to defeat all of them. So there's 10 vampires. It's red, so you know that's the meaning of this character. And you fight them with one single cross, which also looks like this character. But here it has the primitive function. So if you remember this story, if you really try to vividly imagine yourself fighting 10 vampires with a cross, and it should give you the hint that whenever you see this, you just imagine, oh yeah, the cross, I'm fighting 10 vampires, 10. You will know that this is a number 10 in Japanese language. This kanji stands for 10. And that's it. That's another lesson done, another episode done, another class done. It's still lesson 1, but we already know 10 characters, the meaning of 10 characters, and we even know how to write them. So the stroke order for this one is very simple again. Just one line and second line down. So again, just 2 strokes, and we know all we need to know. So let's go check our knowledge. Let's go Excel, discard these, and here we can test what we learned. But I think we can test it from the beginning of the series. So let's see if we still remember what is the meaning of this character right here. Well, it's just one line, so it should be easy, should be one. That's exactly how it is, one down, more than 2000 to go. This is just 2 lines, so it should be 2. And that's correct. And now we have 1 line and 2 lines, which should be 3. And that's what it is. 1 plus 2 equals 3. Now a little bit more complicated. Do you remember this one? Well, do you know that all 4 years old put human legs into their mouths? Who does it? 4 years old? You say it is 4 years old. It's true. 4 years old often put their human legs in their mouth. In the future, when you remember these characters, the meaning of those characters, you truly do not need to torture yourself with the stories. So if you just see this and you know it's 4, you know it's 4. You will eventually forget all of these stories. These stories are here only for you to help you remember those. And when you know it, you can just forget them, and you will just know the meanings, which is totally fine. You shouldn't test yourself in remembering the story. If I know this is 5, I just write out 5 and I continue. But if I don't know anything, let's say here, I don't know what it is. I will try to remember. Oh, I have a head, body, 2 arms, 2 legs. Oh, it's 6. And this kanji resembles 6 parts of the human body: head, body, 2 arms, and 2 legs. And by the way, if you go back to the 5, because I kind of skip it, we know that is the character for 3 and also 2 vertical lines. The next one, we know this is 7. This looks like a 7, just 180 degrees differently. This is the katakana for 8. Katakana, looks like katakana ha. This is hachi. This should be 8. And again, I believe you will very soon remember that this is 8 without even remembering the story. But as a first thing, it's good to know. Now, this looks like letter N. It probably stands for 9. And the last one, finally, some proper story. I imagine myself fighting 10 vampires with a single cross, and somehow I managed to win. Miracle it is. Then it is. And there we go. So we did it. So far we remember all 10 characters, the meanings of 10 characters. That's great. And if you check the Learn Kanji, our Hall of Fame, you can see it's getting to more fill in. We already have 10 here, and soon there will be more to come. And let's check our progress. We finished 10 characters. We're almost half percent in, still long way to go, but we will definitely manage it. So again, these files will be available for you in the link below. You can download them and you can use them, you can study them. And I hope this lesson was useful for you, and I hope I will see you next time and you will not give up and you will continue with in this journey to really master the Japanese language. Okay, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.